Hello, welcome to Ask the Expert. So this is the award-winning daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments of the live feed. And if you need any more advice, then join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMM community group on Facebook. The accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7 to help you with anything that you might need. So during this live session that we're going to be running a poll. So please feel free to engage with it. And what I'll do at the end is I'll reveal all the results. So basically, my name is Amy Dalby, and I run a business called Blondie Baker. So I started the business when I was on maternity leave. So that was 3 years ago nearly. The concept sort of came as I decided that I needed to do something else whilst I was on my maternity leave. I didn't want to go back to work full time. I didn't really want to go back to work part time, to be honest. I needed something that was going to sort of fit around my life a little bit more so that I could spend a lot more time with my son, and then try and do something on the other side. So I did work in restaurants, refused to work Friday nights, Saturday nights, and Sundays when my child would be going to school Monday to Friday. So decided that as I love to bake and I like to make things and I like to eat things, that I was going to start selling the Blondies. So a lot of friends pushed me to do it at first. I started with 3 original flavours, got everything set up from home, and just started rolling from there. So the first, I think it was the first night that I set up the Facebook, like my first orders started coming through, and it was for an engagement party. They wanted to order a few big trays, and from there it just sort of snowballed. It really ticked over nicely, and I was maybe doing 10, 20 orders a week. I'd do the occasional farmers market. I did some pop-up shops where I'd sort of take 400 Blondies and sell out between 9 and 5, maybe come home with a few, but always like a really productive day. Um, and then lockdown happened. And like everybody, I don't think anybody really knew what to do or what to think or anything. So I had stocked up on a little bit of stuff for the Blondies, and my partner was actually laughing because he sort of said, well, Amy, it's a pandemic. Everyone's been told to stay at home. Like, no one's going to buy Blondies. So I thought, well, I don't care. Like, I'm going to buy them anyway. If I have to eat them, then I'll just eat them. So I posted, just sort of said, as long as it's safe, as long as I can get ingredients, I'm doing contact-free collections from the house still. I'm still open for orders. And that just it sort of exploded the business into something that I never would have expected. If you'd have asked me when I first started the business where I would have wanted to go, what I'm doing now possibly would have been in the 10-year plan as opposed to the 2-year plan. So the business really started growing, and the more people that were coming to collect, obviously the more people that were sharing on social media, which meant the more people that were following, which meant the more people that were ordering, and it really did carry on from there. So when we went into lockdown, I think it was 700 followers, I think it was like 760 followers, and today I think I'm on 10.8 thousand. So for me, the pandemic really did help. It helped to build a business, and to sort of propel a business into a situation that I didn't know it could even be in, when I started. So yes, I do think that I am one of the fortunate ones, and one of the fortunate success stories, from the pandemic. With that, obviously, I've had a few things to learn. So first of all, I always say to myself, I'm not a businesswoman that has a bakery. I'm a baker that has had to develop another side of me. So this other side of me is sort of a businesswoman, and I've had to learn everything. So obviously, QuickBooks has been quite essential, in that. So I've had to learn how to do my taxes, to do they call the profit and loss, and keep hold of my receipts and everything. So that's been one of the biggest things that I've had to learn, the actual business aspects from it. On like a more personal note, I have had to learn how to I've had to learn how to sort of say no to things, for my life and the life of my family, because at the end of the day, this business was supposed to work around me and sort of my child, but I went months and months and months without a day off. And I was literally just baking for, I was maybe baking for 7 hours a day, but then on top of that becomes a lot of admin. So I've really had to learn how to manage my time a little bit better so that it works for me. So if somebody comes to me and says like, can I make this order? And I say like, yeah, when for? If they've got a specific date in mind, they're just like, oh, whenever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, is Thursday okay? Because that works more for me. So I'm trying to find a little bit of a balance, between making sure that obviously the customers are happy and that the customers are satisfied, but then also trying to make sure that it doesn't come at the detriment to myself and my family and my health, to be honest, because there's only so much, I have to get so many hours of sleep. I know, but yeah, I do have to try and sleep and eat in all the days, and also be a mum. Um, the other thing that I've learned is probably baking. I know it sounds really silly because people will be like, "Well, I'm pretty sure she's a baker, and that's a livelihood," but it's a different level. I used to bake. When I say it was like 10, maybe 10 orders a week, 7, 10, 12, depending on what week it was. So that really sort of was a different level of what I'm doing now. So instead of making like 2 or 3 boxes, I'm now making sort of like 30, 40 orders a day. And with that, it sort of becomes a little bit robotic, in the sense that it's like the butter's measured, the sugar's measured. I've got 2 different mixers on the go. It's like, get them out, tray them, in the oven, out the oven, get them in, get them out, tray them, in the oven, out the oven. So that, I'd say baking is one of the things that I've had to learn to do, because it's gone from being sort of maybe like a half an hour's job where I'd sort of poodle around and sort of make up a few orders, to being like, no, this is it. I need to put a podcast on. I need to completely zone out. And I just need to bake, and just need to shut off from the rest of the world and just make sure that all I'm concentrating on is the bake sheet and the Blondies and the sink. Because I tell you what, there is an awful lot of washing up that comes with it. Um, I do find it difficult sometimes to stay organised, because as much as the baking is very time consuming, but then there's also another side that people don't see, which is the admin, which is like the constant pressure to keep a social media presence. It's the constant pressure to make sure that you're responding to messages and inquiries in a timely manner, so that people don't feel like they're being ignored. It's being able to interact with people as well, like through the different social media platforms, to sort of feel like they are like getting that personal experience, or they take the time to comment. Like, I try and take the time to reply. So there's the admin side of it that has to be organised, which I tend to do a lot of very early in the morning. So I do apologise if anyone gets a message from me at 10 to 6 in the morning. But this is the only time that I've got to do it, or it's normally very late at night. So but then on top of that, keeping on top of stock, boxes, allergens, stickers, paper liners. These boxes don't make themselves. So I just have to manage my time. I have to sort of break the day up. I have to plan what I'm doing, obviously, as a mother, because first and foremost, I am a mother. So what Albie needs comes first. So that sort of fills in a large part of my day. And then on top of that, I have to find these little pockets in which to be like, do you know what? I'm going to give him a packet of chocolate buttons, because if I give him a packet of chocolate buttons and I put Andy's dinosaurs on the telly, I know that I've got 15 minutes. And what I can do now as a mother and a business owner with 15 minutes, is unbelievable. All of you mums, you and dads as well, like you understand that 15 minutes child free, I can now do more than I probably could have done in 2 or 3 hours before I had children. So I think that's definitely that he has helped me get a lot more organized, because obviously there is somebody else's needs to think about, first and foremost. So we've had quite a few questions coming through, which it's really exciting. So Gemma from Twitter has said, Amy, it's great to listen to you. What are your plans with the company for the next year? Do you want to expand? Thank you, Gemma. So this is the question that I do get asked an awful lot. And it's probably the question that I'm struggling with the most, because in my head, I'm just going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards with myself again as to what to do. So one of the things with the business, was that I think that when you build something, like for a house, for example, you need to have really stable foundations. Otherwise, what's the point in building a house? Because it is going to collapse. If anything happens, like structurally, it's not sound. And one of the things that I've found with Blondie Baker, like 2.0, i.e., after the pandemic or during and after the pandemic, is that the business has been built and it's strong, like it's solid, like the orders are still coming in, that's fine. But I don't know what this new normal, like essentially we're still in lockdown and I don't know what this new normal is going to look like. I don't know whether people are going to completely tail off from ordering from me. I don't know if the orders, and say for example, even like the money side of it, it's like if I'm making X amount of money now, I don't want to make a massive decision of something like taking on a unit when that money might not be there. If you understand what I'm saying, I don't think it will, but I think it's my own doubts in my head thinking, just give it 6 months. Like we're still in lockdown, just give it 6 months. Albie's going to school in September. He's going to start going to nursery, so I have a little bit more time to myself, because at the moment he isn't at nursery. And then just to reassess and sort of take it in these like sort of smaller, sort of more manageable steps, and then think about expanding. Like I had everything in place to start a postal service for January, so that was the plan. So I had like obviously the Christmas madness, it was mega busy, and I thought, right, here we go, January, everyone's eating too much, everyone's put on this COVID-12 or COVID-14, everyone's put weight on over Christmas, so people aren't going to order from me. So what I'll do, I'll take that time, get organised, and I'll start the postal service. And then we went back into lockdown and everyone just ordered again and again and again. And I thought to myself, well, why would I don't want to turn away business, like local business that has literally got me through the last year, when and start doing the postals. So everything's there. Like I keep saying it, but I'm like, everything's there to start the postals. When I get a chance to sit down and work out the system and work out everything with the Royal Mail, I don't know, because I'm just kept so busy with orders. So there is plans to expand, there really is, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing it in the right way. And I do think that as the business has grown so organically, that I'm happy to be sort of business led when it comes to things like this. I'm like, yeah, like if the business can prove to me that it's ready for expansion, then I will. But I don't like forcing things, because I do think that, you know, when you are like sort of forcing something to go a certain way, that's when it becomes more of a chore and a headache. And I think I just enjoy it at the moment. Yeah, and I don't want to ruin my relationship with Blondie Baker by becoming to resent it. Thanks, Gemma. So Zane from Facebook Messenger, as a small business owner, what would you say the most challenging aspects of running a business, and how do you overcome these tough days? My business is also a one-woman show, and sometimes it can be lonely not to have the support of a business partner or a team. Zane, I am with you. It's so difficult. It's lonely. it's very difficult to not have somebody else to bounce off. Like my partner's self-employed, um, and there's sort of things that I don't want to bother him with, and that's not me sort of, I'm not sort of picking holes in my relationship there, but he has a very stressful job, and if I'm sort of like having a little, like a moment or a little whinge, it sometimes feels like I can't really sort of vent to him because he doesn't understand. Like his business is like a face-to-face business. He owns restaurants and a hotel. Um, and that's a very sort of like physical job, like in the sense that like he has to physically be there. Whereas I don't know, whereas like sometimes I sort of think if anyone looks, I just think I'm on my phone, but I'm actually at work. Um, so it is challenging. But what I've found is that I've got through Instagram, I've built up a lot of sort of like online relationships with other small businesses. So there's Cub Life Clothing, and Wish Upon a String, Sugar Love Donuts. And we all have, when you actually speak to people, you think that you feel like the problems that you have or like the issues that you might have within your business, like whether it be with like an operational thing, like you find it difficult to manage the like the social media, the messages are getting too much, somebody's been a bit off on messages, someone's swapping dates, and it all gets very confusing. You just feel a bit like, oh, is that when you've got these friends that are in the same situations as you find that they have the exact same problems. So there's many a time that I've gone, I've spoken to like my friends with other small businesses and gone, do you struggle? And they're like, yes, do you? And you don't think that these problems sort of transfer over to different businesses, like I not just bakery businesses, but these are like wish string businesses, clothing businesses, and everyone has the same problems. And sometimes it's so lovely to be able to vent, and just discuss things with other businesses. So that I would honestly suggest that you do start making these connections online, and you do start speaking to people, because you will find that a lot of these people have the same problems, and they might offer solutions that you didn't think about. Like I've been offered solutions by businesses that aren't anything to do with sort of like food, that might be like a beauty business, and they've said, oh well, we do this when it comes to like the messenger, we do this, and it's like, oh, do you know, I hadn't even thought of that. And then you can sort of take things from people's businesses, because a lot of the problems that I found that I had were problems that I could never have anticipated. So, like Facebook Business, the business app on Facebook, um, I'm having a problem at the moment with finding people that have messaged me. And what I've worked out is that basically, if they don't like me on Facebook, I can't search for them. So, like, I had to put something out just saying, like, look, this isn't me sort of like fishing for likes, but if you are going to message me about an order, you need to make sure that I've messaged that you like the page so that I can message you back. So there's little things like that that you don't really understand, or you wouldn't even think about unless you sort of operate and you realize that these problems and you're able to problem solve them. So then it's not just you. You're not alone. And honestly, pop me a message. My inbox is always open. That goes for everybody that just needs a moment to vent. It is always there. So please, honestly, pop me a message after this, and we'll talk it out. So Elliot from Twitter, what has struck me the most about your story is the decades you spent in the restaurant industry. Do you think that your time and experience was essential to helping you start your business? And what was it that signaled it was time to move on? Oh, thank you, Elliot. That's what I mean. It's such a small mention. You go, oh, by the way, I worked in restaurants for 10 years. But yeah, it's such a massive chunk of my life. So I think it helped. Obviously, I wasn't cooking. I was a restaurant supervisor. I'd been doing it since I was like 16. I just enjoyed the social aspect of it and the customer service aspect of it, which is one of the things that I do think that I have been able to bring into the Blondie thing, which is the customer service side of it, having like a real personal sort of customer service experience, whether it be through Messenger or when you see me at the door or when I'm at the markets. I think that being around food, it definitely makes you hungry. And I used to find that when I was working for like 5 or 6 days, I didn't cook. So on one of my days off, I'd make like an extravagant 3 course meal. Like you'd make things that you didn't think. So like you'd go into work and they'd be doing like a feather blade of beef, and you think to yourself, I want to make a feather blade of beef. So then, like on my day off, I'd be like, "How did you do that? How did you brine that? Oh, that looks nice. Can I borrow some of that jus? Like, oh, what do you put in that? Da, da, da." And then I'd go home and I'd make it. So I think it really sort of piqued my interest in food. And obviously, as a waitress, you do survive a lot of your life off chips from a chip bowl that are going to go in the bin, or offcuts from the dessert section. So obviously, I was always near the dessert section, and just from that sort of the interest in it. But I think that it did also help me know what I needed to do, because I'm aware that a lot of businesses during the lockdown have popped up, a lot of food businesses, and I appreciate that obviously environmental health haven't been able to get out to do the food hygiene ratings and everything. Um, but obviously, 2 years ago, I was aware that I needed a level 2 in food hygiene, that would be helpful, that I needed to get environmental health around my house, that I needed certain insurances. So when I did start up, I knew that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I sort of felt like it stood me in good stead, knowing sort of like the basic kitchen rules that we had from the front of house to the back of house, sort of things that transferred across, like I said, silly things like fridge temperatures and things that helped me with the like environmental health, and just being able to know who to call. And I know that obviously a lot of these businesses during lockdown, um, a lot aren't registered, and a lot maybe don't have the correct insurances and food hygiene scores. So it just made me feel like that's fine. Like I've got them, so that's fine. So I'm just gonna carry on doing me, and I know that I'm right. But yeah, it gave me a little bit more confidence. Um, when I moved on from the restaurants, it was mainly because obviously I had a baby. Um, I did have to go back after 4 months because my partner decided to break his Achilles playing cricket. So I had to go in and do some shifts when he was 4 months old, which was awful. Um, but I just needed something so that I wasn't at the restaurants on a weekend. And obviously, what I would do if I worked on a Friday night and a Saturday night and a Sunday daytime, for example, I thought to myself, if I can make 10 blondies, I can, like, during the week, Monday to Friday, then that will subsidize what I would have earned from one shift at the restaurant. So I sort of used it like that. And then obviously with the pandemic, everything just came to a halt. So it wasn't that I chose to leave the restaurant. I think that the whole decision to start Blondie Baker, if it had to have been something that I just stopped and handed my notice in one job and started this, it would have been a lot scarier. And I think that the way it just planned out, like with a slow transition from being on maternity leave to then using it to subsidise my wage to now it being a full-time job, um, it was sort of taken out of my hands. So I think I really have been very fortunate, really, really fortunate in that way, Elliot. But again, honestly, if you've got any questions, please feel free to drop me a message. Amelia, Facebook Messenger. To invent your products, do you look at trends or happenings like Halloween, or do you take inspiration from what your customers ask for? What an amazing question. So, I take inspiration from things that I like to eat. Obviously, when it comes to the sort of like the big events in the baking calendar, which is like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, Halloween, I do try and draw from that. So, for example, at Easter, I knew that one of the big trends over the last few years has been the cream egg Scotch eggs. I didn't want to do that because I was aware that a lot of other people were going to do it, and I don't like that. I like being a little bit more original with things. So, sort of came up, and I thought, well, what can I do with a cream egg? And I was like, what can you do with a cream egg? So I tried a few different things, and I ended up bringing out the Blondie bombs. So it was like the cream egg, and it was like wrapped in, well, it wasn't wrapped, it was like baked inside of this big of all the Blondie mix. And it took me a while to get them right, but I did get them right. So I sort of put them on the menu. So yeah, so it just sort of tends, like, if things come out, like if Cadbury's release, like, you know, you've got like the Terry's chocolate orange trend that's going on, then you sort of try and incorporate that. So I sort of look at which chocolates are good, which flavour combinations are good, like which sort of events are going on. Like, I'm thinking, like, oh, do I do a 4th of July menu and have like a few different like special American ones? It's all that sort of stuff. And I honestly, like, I literally dream about Blondies, and I will wake up in the middle of the night, and think like, could I do this? Or like, could I put that in there? Or what about if I did this? And what about if I did that? So yeah, but I think it's great if you are looking for inspiration to have a little scroll through Instagram, and you'll find like a lot of things that you can draw from, not identically copy, but sort of like one idea will sort of trigger another idea and another idea and another idea, and then you'll sort of get to something that's more of your own, but drawing from other different aspects of other people's products. So yeah, Amelia, thank you so much for your question. So we've got the poll results are in. So what we asked was, will the business model you've used over lockdown transfer to the new normal? And the results are, drum roll, it's 50-50. So 50% have said yes, and 50% have said no. Yeah, do you know what? I totally get it, because nobody knows. So it's completely, I feel like it's completely apt to say, yeah, 50-50. Who knows? Who knows? It's difficult. I hope that not, I'm hoping that I can adapt my business model to work. So that is my goal. And I said it the other day. I said it to my mum, and I just said, do you know, Blondie Baker's going to work, whether it's doing what I'm doing now, doing something different, or doing something completely different, and just branching out into different things that I maybe don't know about yet. I'm like, it's going to work. So yeah, this exact business model may or may not work after lockdown and after we get this new normal. But I'm going to make it work, because this is something that I truly believe in. I love making people happy with my bakes. I love the feedback. I love making them. And most of all, I love eating them. So that's it. I will forever be making Blondies. So we've got time for one more question. So, Mariana, Facebook Messenger. I've always been interested in selling my cakes, but I have no clue on how to build a customer base. How have you gone about marketing your bakes, and what has worked best for you? Is it social media, trying to get press articles, or purely word of mouth? What a good question, Mariana. Thank you. So I actually got asked this the other day, and the answer is that there isn't a simple formula for success. As with every business, there's no formula for success. So I started, like I said, 2 years ago, and I just plod on. You push, you take photos, you post them. You might get 17 likes, you might get 70 likes. It doesn't matter. It sort of doesn't matter, as long as the orders are coming in. I said this to somebody that was asking me about it the other day, actually, and I was like, like I said, I'm on 10.8 at the moment. I could have 10.8 followers, and I could have no orders. Like, I'd much rather have been happy with like 4,000 followers and absolutely loads of orders. It's all about, the end of the day, it is about social media. If you make it up, you take the photos, make sure that you sort of like posting, engaging, and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, if you are getting orders, that is the best word of mouth. Yeah, I mean, the press articles, I realised, like, I've had quite a lot of press articles But that's always been something that's been like people have approached me about. It's not me going out and finding them, because I do think word of mouth is probably the best. It's definitely the best. What you want is you want people talking about your bakes. You want to be the first thing that pops into someone's mind if someone mentions, oh, it's so and so's birthday, so we're thinking about, and you want someone to go, have you had a cake off Mariana? Did you know Mariana did cakes? And that sort of thing. So social media is amazing. It is amazing. And I wouldn't be where I am without social media. However, it's not the be all and end all. As long as you're getting the orders, as long as people think they're good, you're fine, Mariana. And like I said, any questions, pop me a message. Thank you. Thank you so much for turning out this morning. And if you want to get in touch with me, then you can send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Instagram is @a_blondie_baker. So coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow, it is Andrew Block, and he's the founder of Andrew Block and Associates and is the official spokesperson of Lord Alan Sugar since 2001. Wow. So he's going to be revealing everything you want to know about PR, marketing and comms. So tune in. I know I'm going to be tuning in. And just a reminder that if you do need any more advice, then you just join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community on Facebook. Again, accountants and business experts on hand 24/7. I have really enjoyed answering your questions this morning. Have an amazing day, and thank you so much for listening to me rabble on for half an hour. Thank you so much.